guys, welcome out of the garden and into my home. In today's video, I have several chores that I need to get done. So the weather today was extremely unbearable. It rained for the majority of the day, so 75% of the day it's been raining. Of course, the temperatures dropped. It's like in the 30s, but it probably feels like 20 degrees outside. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to go in and do my annual container maintenance. The other day I put out a ton of terracotta pots. A couple of them had some tulips planted in them, but most of them are waiting to be planted up with beautiful early spring tough annuals. Also, I have a few containers that I recently purchased, and I'm going to be unpackaging those and putting them up as well. I have a container that I did an unboxing for, and I started to plant that up, but I think I know where I'm going to put that Wakefield planter at. So I'll be finding a place for her in one of the cabinets. Some planters that I need to break down. So it's quite a few things that I need to get done, and the sooner I can get this done, the sooner I can start planting, starting my seeds. So one thing I like to do is I never start seeds too early. And I know that everybody's zone is different, but for me, I like to take my time with my seeds and start them, because if it's just too many things can go wrong when you start them early. Some years I don't start seed at all, and some years I will start seed. It just all depends on my work schedule. How I store my containers. I store containers in various ways. I have matching cabinets here that I have my containers in. I also have a ton of containers in the garage. I also have containers that I have outside that are weatherproof and weather appropriate, and they can stay outside. And then I have containers that are so big that because of what they have in them, they probably would benefit from being brought inside, but there's no space for them. Containers that are on the smaller side, I like to store them inside of my cabinet here. So I have like just different things that I use, like with my tablescapes in here as well. I have vases. I have vases inside of here that I like to use for different arrangement. But I'm going to go ahead and get some terracotta in here, because I have a ton of terracotta. I think everybody has a ton of terracotta pots. So I had some that I pulled out. I was going to use for a project, and I ended up changing my mind and didn't go through with the project. So I have to get those put up. These planters right here, these are all the ones that I'm going to have to go through and disassemble. So I have perennial rose, and of course, you know, Mr. Fluffy, perennial rose, and hydrangea here. And it, all right, so look at this. Let me get in closer. And the color is going to be distorted in the sunroom because it's pulling out like the yellow hues. And okay, so here's the container. So it's beautiful terracotta, and I got these from there. These were made in Mexico. I did not get them from Mexico, but isn't this gorgeous? Like the shape. And that's one of the things that I look at when I'm looking for planters. I look for things that are unique in shape and texture and things like that. So I'm gonna put these up, and then I might use these this year, and I might not. So let me go ahead and get these packed away. Although this cabinet is full, I might have a little bit of real estate at the bottom, but I'm not sure. So these might have to go into the garage. And here is the other terracotta pot. So just the same thing. And I like to try to buy my containers as 2, unless it can stand independently and just be, you know, just stand independently on its own. Okay, so I got that done. Now, let's look at this Wakefield planter. And see, I ordered this planter as just 1. But you know what? It's a nice size to where you could plant this up and just set it in the middle of a table. Okay, so in this cabinet, I'm going to set that planter right here. But as you can see, my pot feet, so if you see over here in the corner, I got my different terracotta pot feet over here, and then just different various containers. But then I also keep my plant labels over here. So I have my plant labels. So the only thing, these are reinforced so it can support the weight of these heavy containers. You know, just like to have containers on hand, and containers are my thing. I love, 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 love containers. Since this is so close to the area that I'm working in, I have a lot of my rakes and stuff like that, so I'm going to get those put out, and then it'll declutter the space, and then I'll start dismantling the plants. Alright, so the first planter I'm going to take apart. What I'm going to do is with these planters, so I'm going to take out this Mr. Fluffy, and I'm going to take the hydrangea out. I'm going to take out the rose. Going to try to get as much of the roots as I can. I have various different size containers here, and so the container size that I put them in is going to be based off of the root. So if I can get it in this size container, then I'll put it in there. Okay. And one of the things I like to do when I'm doing this, I like to have my scooper available. Biotone, and it's just, the only thing this is it's just full of all the good stuff. It has mycorrhiza in there, and it helps prevent transplant shock. Now, you don't have to use the Espoma Biotone brand. You can use any brand, and you technically don't even have to use it. I just want to try to prevent my plants from transplant shock. So just a little bit goes a long way. And then I'm going to give it a real good drink of water. When I transplant, I like to use these little clear containers. And I will put it on a terracotta saucer. But for right now, I'll put it in a clear container. The reason being is I want to see just how thirsty this plant is, right? So I'm going to water it from over top to make sure I don't have any air pockets. And then whatever it doesn't need, it drains out the bottom. I'll keep it in this container for a few days, and then once it's acclimated, acclimated, I'll go ahead and I'll switch it over to a terracotta pot, and that's what I'll use. But for right now, I am going to keep it in a clear container. Now, this hydrangea, and I'm starting to get excited all over again. This hydrangea is already budded up to start producing leaves. So I'm going to get this out of here. And this is kind of planted like really closely. So I'm going to come out to the edge with this one here. Yeah, so it's definitely budded up. Put this back in a Proven Winners can, and then I'm going to label it. So it's a line meta. So it's a panicle hydrangea. And then when it's time for the season to start, she'll go out into the garden. But I had her in a container and had her sitting on my table last year, and I'll put a picture in of what that looked like. But it was beautiful. And I had the rose was in there, and the rose was sticking out a little bit. Last thing that I have to transfer out of here is going to be this rose bush, and I'm also going to put it just in a container. I'm going to break away what I don't need, get it in some nice fresh soil, keep the root memory intact. And she doesn't look like much right now. And what I do with my old soil, so with my old soil, if there's an infestation in it, I just throw it away. If there's not an infestation in it, I use my old soil as a filler. In low areas, you can do that. You can take your old, well, that's what I do in my garden. I take my old soil and I fill in a place that maybe is a low lying area. That's something that I do because, I mean, it's nothing wrong with this soil. Also, another thing, if you're doing raised beds for flowers, I would not do it with vegetables. But if you're doing a raised bed for flowers, you can 100% reuse the soil because it's nothing but filler. So, all of my plant cans, I save my plant cans, and then once I get to a certain amount of plant cans, I take it back to Lowe's, and then I just take the old soil. So first plant a little fern, and for me this is going to be extremely easy to transplant. Just going to take one of these little bitty terracotta pots. Containers all taken apart. So since I'm already out here and I'm potting these up, I'm going to go ahead and redo a anthurium. I have two of these, and I'm going to just go ahead and just pop them into, just upsize their container just a little bit. And even though it seems like she has a lot of growth at the top, I could go with a container of this size. That way I wouldn't have to worry about stepping her up. But sometimes, you know, it's not good to up the size container of a plant really quick. So I'm not going to do anything but just go ahead and just pop that out a little bit. And that's all I'm going to do, really quick. And then if I have to take it up another size, I'll just take it up another size. Now, as for these little bitty cans, I like to keep these cans because I can always use those for little seedlings or whatever if I'm starting a cutting or whatever versus using a larger container. And that's why I like to keep these smaller type terracotta pots around as well. Now, I like to water these from up underneath, and that way it can suck in everything. But I am going to give it a little bit of water on the top. So I got the 3 containers that I really wanted to get dismantled. I have like 5 terracotta pots over there, and I need to go through and break those down. I'm not going to do those today. I probably will not do those in the video, but if this is, so my whole thing behind gardening, I feel that you should be able to garden without having to spend a whole bunch of money. There is no sense in not reusing plants. So for example, these 2 Mr. Fluffies that I used here in this beautiful arrangement that I did over the summertime, there is no reason at all why you can't or I can't reuse these plants in another container arrangement. I feel like we need to reuse as many resources as we can, because that way you can then put your money where you want to use your money. So I'm not going to go out and buy another plant unless something happens to this plant or this plant dies or something of that nature. I have perennial plants like heucheras. Like this is a heuchera that I used right here, and I had it left over from when I planted up heucheras in my front garden space. And I have ferns here. Then I have these anthuriums. These are all things that I pick up when I'm at the various garden centers. Sherwood Forest, he has so many different plant options, and that's one of the things I love about that garden center. And I'm quite sure you have a garden center in your area as well, if you're not in the St. Louis region, that also offers plantings like this. Miniature roses, that's another thing that I love to incorporate in my outdoor containers. So you can plant that up in early spring, and then you take that planter, set it on your table. Before fall, before the frost is able to wipe out the planter, then you want to bring the planter in. And if you don't have a sunroom, you don't have a shed, a hoop house, a greenhouse, put it into a garage that has a window in, or bring it in as a house plant and just make sure you just water it, let it go to sleep a little bit. So you want to let the temperatures go down. So like my roses have went to sleep, and as you can see, my hydrangeas also went to sleep, but they're starting to bud out. Now I'm going to let this get situated. I am going to come back in and just take off the dead. I'm not going to do any heavy pruning. The time for me really to have transplanted this hydrangea should have been in the fall. But if I had so many tulips, you guys, to plant, it was no way. So things like this situation right here, the transplanting of these plants get pushed to the back burner. There was no way I would have been stretched so thin if I would have tried to worry about getting all these plants transplanted and also working. I would have been stretched so thin. So I like to save projects like these as when I get time. Now that I have this situation, all of these plants transplanted, now it just opened up space for me to focus on something else. It's just a continuation, you know. But I truly believe in saving money. And also, let me show you an accent plant really quick that's advertised as an annual plant. And I did a video about this, how to save money with container gardening. Because if you think about it, container gardening, when you're, using annuals, that can become very, 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 very expensive. When you're doing container gardening and you're using these plants, that can start to weigh a little bit heavy on your pocket. But I'm going to show you guys an annual that was marketed as an annual, and this is the second year that I have had this plant in the garden. So wait 1 second. Okay, so this girl right here, and I had 2 of them. I had 2 of them, and the weather in St. Louis is bipolar. I had 2, and I ended up forgetting that I planted this beauty up in the video, and I left her on the side of the maple tree outside over there, wherein a few videos ago I put the Valentine's Day rug and the Valentine's Day wreath that we made in the video prior to that. That is where she is. Now, I don't know if she's going to make it. I don't believe she's going to pull through, because then in that scenario, I could have had 2 of the same plant. And I'm going to go ahead and replant this here since I already have her over here. Because when I put her in this container, when I put her here, I actually should have put her, turned her up. But this was just a temporary solution because I needed the container that she was going in. So I said, well, let me go ahead and pull this out, because I needed the container that it was sitting in. I said, I'm going to pull this out, and then I'm going to go ahead and transplant her. I made sure all of the roots were covered up, and I just flopped her in this container. So since I'm doing this, this is one more thing that I have off of my checklist. So the only thing I'm doing, and I'm getting ready to get my shear so I have a better cut. I have a more clean cut, and I'll sit her up in this container the way she needs to be. So hold on 1 second. I'll just cut her up real quick. And so that's one of the things that I believe. I try to save money the best way I can in my garden, because I know some projects I might not be able to save on, and that way I can allocate my money somewhere else in my garden. So that's one of the things that I'm big on with gardening. With that being said, I just believe that any way I can save money in my garden, that's what I'm going to do. Fine, just needs a beautiful dusting off. And I was able to get another plant, has a really good root system on it, and this one was a volunteer. This is for free. Well, it's not necessarily a volunteer, but I was able to divide her to another plant. So just think, if I still had the one outside, then I could have potentially had 4 plants. So just imagine this beauty planted up inside a container. I'm just going to flop this down in this planter right here. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to put it in a temporary can. I'm going to do the right thing. Let me get this off on the floor and back over here in this corner. Here we go. So now I can plant up a little planter in the summertime or early spring, and this can be my centerpiece, and this is a free, in essence, a free centerpiece. I was able to divide the plant, and that's what I mean by, you know, using your money using your coins where you should be using your coins. So instead of me having to spend so much money on plants, that maybe could be another container, because I already know how I'm gonna plant that one up over there. She's so large that she's definitely gonna have some beautiful flowers to accommodate her. So I already know where she's going in the summer. I have the perfect spot for her. I already know what I'm gonna plant as her companions in the container that she'll be in for the summer. And that right there, that plant is large enough to where it makes a statement all on its own. Now this baby right here, lemon coral sedum. Now I am putting this off to the very end, but I am gonna be dividing this lemon coral sedum. But you guys, there's nothing else I would be doing, you know, on a cold, wet day. I can't go outside. I can't work in the garden. It's cold. It's windy. If the wind was so strong, it probably would have knocked the poor little camera over. So I decided to go ahead and come out into my sunroom, get things organized, put container plants up, and that's the way I'll be spending the rest of my night. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. If you have any questions, drop down in the comment box, let me know. And I would just love to hear, do you guys, please tell me I am not the only one that have not broken down their spring, summer, or fall planters. Please tell me I'm not the only one out there. Drop down in the comment box and let me know. See you guys in the next one. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.